Power utility Eskom has downgraded load shedding from stage 6 to stage 4 overnight. Electricity Minister Dr Mteto says that South Africa remains on course with its energy recovery plan. This is despite Eskom implementing stage 6 load shedding on Sunday morning, following multiple trips at the Camden Power Station. For more on this, let's now speak to the Eskom board chairperson, Dr Mteto Nyati. Dr Nyati, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. What are we currently looking like? I know that the minister during the press briefing as well as the CEO said that before the end of the week we'll be out of this bout of load shedding. But what are the signals telling you at this moment?
Aldrin, thank you so much for having me, and good morning to your viewers. Let me first just send a message to all of the South Africans that we truly apologize for what has happened. It is load shedding is not something that we would like to see coming back. In fact, we are on a mission to get rid of that word from our vocabulary as South Africans. So to see it coming back, it is not something that we are proud of. So we are really apologize. We're sorry. Answering your question about where we are, we had indicated yesterday that there are a number of units that we are working on. We're expecting to return to service. The 5 units from Majuba came back. The 2 units that were also down from Camden came back, and also the unit that was down caused by this at Medupi returned back to service. This is all in line with what we communicated yesterday, and I'm stressing this as a point to say that we are creating a culture within Eskom where when we say something, we need to do that. Although this was a crisis, although this was a setback, out of that setback, we need to continue to drive this company with discipline. And it is good to see that management has done exactly what they committed to do. And as a result of that, we are seeing that the stage of load shedding has come down to 4. We expect that, as we communicated yesterday, by the end of the week, we should be out of load shedding. There are key things to be done in order for us to get to that point. And as we achieve those, we will communicate to the rest of South Africa.
Yeah, and the possibility of going to a lesser load shedding stage before the end of the week, what are we looking like?
Look, that possibility is always there. We, initially when people were thinking about it, maybe we'll come down to stage 5. We did not. We went to stage 4. But one of the things that we always say to the employees and management of Eskom is that we cannot cut corners. We need to do the right things right all the time. We were stressing this. They have to do the right things right all the time. If it means us taking longer, we'll have to take the flag from South Africans. We'll have to take the insults and whatever is thrown our way. But it doesn't matter. We have to do the right things. So we expect that we will get to the goal that we have set for ourselves, hopefully sooner than we had indicated, but certainly not beyond the end of the week.
Yeah. If we consider that the units that were out, the majority of them are back, understand out of the 10, 8 are on service, why aren't we already maybe on a stage 2 load shedding instead of a stage 4?
Again, it is being very prudent, and you need to be also conservative. We need to make sure that we build our reserves, and that is the dams that were used, the pump storage. We have to make sure that at the plants where we are running OCGTs, Ankelech and others, we make sure that we have enough diesel to carry us through, because those OCGTs, we use them for peak demands, that is morning peak and evening peak. So if we do not have enough, that is going to create problems for us throughout. And those units were designed exactly for that evening peak. So we need to build those reserves. Let us not rush. Let us do the right thing. And when we've done that, you will see, we are not going to, if we feel that we are where we need to be, we will come out and inform South Africa, even if it is sooner.
Yeah. And again, going back to the point that you stress now with the open cycle gas turbines, the OCGTs, as it stands currently, why don't we have enough diesel to run those so that we are out of load shedding?
Okay, no, that's a very good point. Thank you for asking that. You may remember that the whole of last week, for almost 8 days, it was raining. And when it is raining, as many people will say that we are off the grid, we've got a rooftop solar. But during that time, the reality is that all of that power, the demands, comes back to Eskom. We need to be that energy provider of last resort. When everything else fails, we need to be there. And we were there for all of those 8 days to support the people that solar could not provide them with the energy that they needed. And in order to do that, we needed to run our open cycle gas turbines that much harder. And why were we running them harder? It's because we are currently on a season of planned maintenance. That's another discipline that we have really made sure that we comply with. During the summer months, we have to do the planned maintenance. We currently have an equivalent of almost 8 stages of load shedding currently under planned maintenance. We are doing this in order to prepare for the winter. If we don't do this thing, we're going to struggle in winter. So a combination of the weather of last week together with the planned maintenance meant that we had to run our open cycle gas turbines that harder. As a result, the diesel reserves came down.
Yeah. Does this mean that the contribution, the generation contribution from the IPPs as well came in very low than expected?
It always is, because that's renewables. This is really, we are learning out of this. And I'm not talking us, we know it, this thing. But I think the rest of South Africa needs to understand how dependent we are, this energy that is sometimes may not be available for a week or two. We need to still be running the country. So the base load is critical. It is so important what we are doing with the coal-fired power station to get them to a position where they are reliable. We need to make sure that it's the case. So both the IPPs and us as consumers, the rooftop solars were not coming in. So everybody had to rely on Eskom.
Okay. Then I understand the apology as well as the rationale that is given to why we find ourselves at this particular stage. Is there going to be a different approach then to the aggressive maintenance that we've seen? You said close to about 8 stages of load shedding, around 7,500 megawatts of power or units that are currently going through maintenance. Does this mean that we need to change that because of possibilities of this nature when nature does happen and you need to find alternative sources of energy?
No, we cannot do that. If we do that, we are going to be heading for a disaster. We need to be disciplined, right? We need to do the level of maintenance that is required for us to have a winter that is load shedding free. What happened last week is a combination of things that happened largely by chance, all of them happening at the same time. We had the weather situation. We had these 2 power stations, Camden and Majuba. These are what we call flagship power stations. They have been carrying us throughout. They are not part of the top 6 power stations that we identified as being troublesome. So what happened to them is not something that happens ordinarily. But out of that incident, those 2 incidences, where management is doing root cause analysis, and us as the board were interested in what are the lessons that we can learn and how can we take those lessons from that throughout the other power stations to make sure that if circumstances like that come up in the future, they do not cause the kind of problem that we saw over this weekend.
Okay, just a quick final one, and this is on the basis of what the President said during his State of the Nation address. With the Electricity Regulation Amendment Act coming into effect on the 1st of January, he says that this year we will put in place the building blocks for a competitive electricity market over time. This will allow multiple electricity generation entities to emerge and to compete. What does this all then mean for Eskom? And I know currently Eskom, of course, enjoys somewhat of a monopoly. But what does it mean for Eskom's ability to compete once there is more competition in the electricity generation industry?
Look, generally, people are uncomfortable when competition is introduced. We are of a different view. The board is that it's actually a good thing for South Africa to have that. You need to have choices as a country. You need to have choices that will help drive down the costs. So as an entity, us as Eskom, we need to make sure that we are competitive. Together with the fact that now the tariff increase that we've been given, we see that going forward is likely going to be in line with inflation. Again, that drives us to say, how can we do better within Eskom? How do we drive down inefficiencies? How do we drive down the costs? So it's making us to be better. It's going to be painful, but it is good. It's going to help this company to be future fit as we go forward. So we need competition to get us to be better. We are going to be also participating in renewables. Unlike in the past, our strategy, this new board now, is that we will be participating in renewables. So bring the competition in. We need that competition. It's going to help us to be better. And we have been in this space as an energy provider for a long time. That should give us the advantage as we see competition going forward.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. That is Mteto Nyati.